One meal a day is an advanced intermittent fasting approach where you eat all of your calories in one single meal and then you fast for the remaining 23 hours of the day. This isn't for everyone, but for many, it's a very powerful tool. I'll share with you why. But before we get started, I'm Dr. Nick Zyrowski, and thanks for hanging out with me in this video today. It's so awesome having you here and helping you transform your health and do it naturally. So let's go ahead and dive into the first major benefit that you'll get from following one meal a day, and that is accelerated fat loss. You know, there's nothing that works better than one meal a day for accelerated fat loss. And here's why. That long fasting window that you're going to follow, well, it turns you from being a sugar burner to a fat burner. It puts you into the state of ketosis where your body starts burning fat for energy. There's something really interesting that happens here. Your insulin stays very low and it signals your body to start releasing stored fat. What's interesting a little bit further beyond this point is that there was a study that showed that if you keep your fast under a 24-hour mark, you are not going to break down any lean muscle tissue and you're going to strictly focus on burning fat for energy. So therefore, you have found a tool to maintain lean muscle mass, which is great for anti-aging and of course just looking good and feeling good, but it also is awesome because you're going to burn fat. Now let's talk about your mental clarity, because this is another huge benefit of one meal a day. When following one meal a day, you're going to notice that your focus is better. You have less brain fog. You're able to think more clear. You're not having these brain energy crashes. Well, there's a reason for that. Two, actually. One is that you're not digesting food. And when you're not digesting food, your brain tends to feel better. It's very often that we eat a big meal and our brain crashes or we feel very sluggish. Well, because you're not eating, you're not digesting, that doesn't happen. Something else very interesting happens, though, during this one meal a day fasting period, and that is you increase something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This is very healing to the brain, and it also is going to be great for brain performance. So this is why you're getting that mental clarity. But let's step away from the benefits real quick, and I think this is kind of a benefit, but it's something that's just interesting beyond a benefit of one meal a day, and that is it simplifies your lifestyle. You know, when we look at counting calories and all the different confusing things that you can do to improve your health and also just lose weight, well, that tends to be a drain on a lot of people and it stops them from taking action. The great thing about one meal a day is that it simplifies everything. You're having fewer meals. You're thinking less about prepping food and cooking and planning and all of that. And then also, you're just having that one meal, you clean up after it, and you're done. Okay, so it simplifies a good, healthy lifestyle. Though I said from the very beginning, this may not be for everyone, and I'll share with you towards the end of this video the factors in which you would avoid doing one meal a day. But for many, and for so many, this is a powerful tool to help them get the health they want with ease. So I think that this is something you certainly should look into and take into consideration. Let's talk about the next major benefit of one meal a day. Well, it's improved insulin sensitivity. Now, we already talked how insulin stays low and it actually opens up the opportunity for fat burning, but we're also going to find with this that with this improved insulin response, it improves our health across the board, right? Whether it's cholesterol, whether it's fatty liver, it doesn't matter what it is. You are improving your health because one of the core issues that we deal with as a society is insulin resistance. So as you improve insulin sensitivity through your day-to-day lifestyle following one meal a day, you are going to really set your body up for fighting chronic disease and also avoiding all the different issues that come along with metabolic syndrome, which is great. Now, by the way, if you really like this information, you want to transform your health, do it naturally, I have a community called Health Club where we have many conversations like this. I share with you the best ways to eat and different clinical tips that I utilize every single day. You know, one of the things about me is I actually practice and see patients clinically every day. I've seen over 25,000 patient visits, and I will tell you that I have really honed in on what helps people transform their health the best and the easiest, all while doing it naturally. So if you want to be part of that conversation, you want to transform your health naturally and be in the know of what's working now, click on the link in the description, join me in Health Club. It'd be awesome to have you there. Now, let's talk about a very interesting and probably the most powerful benefit of one meal a day, and that is the cellular repair response that's activated as soon as you start doing one meal a day. Something called autophagy is estimated to be activated in your body around the 17-hour mark. Okay, if you're eating healthy, you're doing all the right things, around the 17-hour mark, autophagy is activated. And this is a cellular repair process. It breaks down the broken cells in the body, the cancerous cells, the ones that are unhealthy, and then it takes the components of those cells and it refurbishes them to make new healthy cells. So as you are going through this fasting process, you activate autophagy and you're getting so many anti-aging benefits and also benefits of just preventing chronic disease in your future. Autophagy is powerful. Thomas Seyfried, who is a author and wrote a book, Cancer, a Metabolic Disease, he basically said, look, if you are fasting, you are going to be able to avoid cancer because you're constantly cleaning up the bad cells through the process of autophagy. One meal a day allows for that opportunity to happen on a daily basis, which is otherwise never happening. So super cool there. One meal a day is also going to support your hormone balance. And this is really important because there's this kind of dance that happens with your metabolic hormones. You have leptin, which is a metabolic hormone that tells you when you're full, and you have ghrelin, a metabolic hormone that tells you when you're hungry, and then you have cortisol. Now imagine these hormones just can't be heard and they're not working correctly. You could find yourself in a situation where you never know when to stop eating because you're not getting that sense of fullness. You can have the situation where you're hungry all the time because you constantly have ghrelin telling you, go and eat some more food. And as a result of that, it can lead to you becoming overweight, obese, having metabolic syndrome and fatty liver and so many problems, right? So these hormones, keeping them under control is a great way in order to improve your everyday well-being. And one meal a day will help create that balance, which is powerful, very powerful. Let's talk about your cardiovascular health. And you might think, well, you know what? That's not important to me. I don't have cardiovascular issues. Here's why it's important to you. The number one reason that people die prematurely worldwide is because of cardiovascular issues. And it's not just happening in the elderly anymore. Now it's starting to happen in the younger individuals. So when you're utilizing Omad as a way to improve your health, you're going to find that it helps keep your blood pressure down. It helps lower your triglycerides. It also helps balance your cholesterol. If you're someone who has fatty liver, it's going to help with that. And because you're driving down insulin and you're lowering inflammation, not only in the body, but the cardiovascular system, and you have that process of autophagy kicking in, you're going to find that you're not going to get a bunch of arterial plaque and issues that so many people face today. So it's so good for your cardiovascular system. Let's talk about a few reasons, though, as to why you might not do one meal a day and also why you have to be careful with it, okay? So first of all, if you are somebody who has a very high physical activity job, one meal a day can be a little bit challenging because your calorie intake is probably so high. Your needs are very high. So one meal a day can be a little bit of a struggle for you as an individual. However, what you still could do is you could fast to like 18 hours every day, maybe fast to 20 hours every day and make it a little bit easier on yourself. Remember that with any of these different processes, it's not an all or nothing approach, right? We talked about how one meal a day is 23 hours of fasting, but guess what? Most people are doing it in like 22 hours because you know what? It's nice to just have a 2-hour eating window. If you want to push it to 23, that's great, but don't feel like you're less than or something if you do 22 hours or even 20 hours. You're just not pushing that fasting quite as hard. However, you're still getting a ton of the amazing benefits. So high physical activity jobs can be a reason as to why one meal a day could be a little bit tough for you. Now, if you're somebody who is under a lot of stress, one meal a day may have a little bit more of a harder impact on you as far as like just how you feel. One of the ways to actually combat that is through utilizing some B vitamins. If your body's under a lot of stress, B vitamins will help you overcome that, which also will make the one meal a day faster. So remember that as a tool to help not only manage stress, but help you be able to tolerate one meal a day much better. And a good healthy body should be able to tolerate one meal a day. I want to point out though, if you're new to one meal a day, you should probably ease into it. Start with like a 14-hour fast, go to a 16-hour fast, move to an 18, 20-hour fast till the point where you get to where you're at that 22, 23-hour mark. Usually it's not something where you're going to want to jump into it right away because it's like just a radical transformation for your body. So don't push your body to a point where it's, so uncomfortable that you're just going to want to quit and say, hey, that wasn't for me, right? You want to ease into it a little bit. Now, another thing that's very, very important, and I stress this highly, whenever you're doing one meal a day, it's not a starvation technique. One of the things we want to do is make sure that we're getting the proper amount of calories. It is a intermittent fasting technique, meaning that you should be consuming the correct amount of calories that your body needs every day. When you eat that meal, if you want to make the fasting period easier on yourself, you should really put an emphasis on making sure you're getting lots of healthy fats, lots of good healthy proteins, and also fibers, micronutrients, and then make sure that you're keeping it fairly low carb. Okay, this is going to just be helpful to get through the fasting period without crashes. And it's important that you get the proper nutrients for your body. As I mentioned before, this is not a starvation technique. And this is also why you have to consider the hours. If in a 1 hour period, you can't eat enough food to sustain you for the day, you can't hit your calorie mark, well, let's say it's 2,000 calories a day, then you should open that up. Instead of doing 23 hours, do 22 hours. What's most important is that this is sustainable for you and that you can actually follow it day in and day out. Now, while we're on that topic, it's important to understand too that it's not necessary to do one meal a day every single day of the week. You know what I tend to recommend is a 16-8 intermittent fasting a few days a week, a one meal a day, 1 to 2 days a week, a 24-hour fast 1 day a week. Switch it up. When you switch this up constantly, you kind of create this metabolic confusion that happens in your body, which furthers your results, which helps you get better results. When you stay in the same fasting schedule every single day, day in and day out, you tend to see your results plateau. In fact, I like to have about 2 days a week that you don't fast at all, 3 meals a day, whatever, snacking, whatever you want to do, simply because it shows your body we're not starving, everything's okay. And then when you go back into the fasted period, it really pushes your body to become better. Now, another thing I want to point out is that if you're somebody who's on a medication, it's important you talk to your medical professional, the individual who put you on that medication, and say, can I follow something like this? Is this right for me? And then hopefully as you go through this process of doing one meal a day and, using the techniques we talk about on this channel and in Health Club in order to improve your health naturally, eventually you get off your medication. That's always the goal, is to get off these different medications and improve your health. When your health keeps getting better and better and you keep checking in with your doctor and they see that your cholesterol is going lower and your blood pressure is going lower, they're going to say, hey, these medications may not be necessary anymore. And so then they'll start taking you off. So that's where we want to be with this. Nobody wants to grow old and be on 50 medications and just have a miserable life. We want to really grow old and have that innate healing potential activated in our body every day. I'm Dr. Nick Zyrowski. I hope you join me over in Health Club. Remember the links down below. If you want to learn more about this topic, I actually have a 1 meal a day food plan video you can check out right here.